Kia, my name is Jess. I'm in the external communications team here at the FMA, and you're joining me for another episode of Jess Learns to Invest. Today we're going to be diving into a topic that has become all too common, investment scams. From slick websites to fake crypto platforms, scammers are getting smarter and they're targeting everyday New Zealanders. Today, here to talk to us all about scams is FMA Manager of our Regulatory Services team, Samantha McGuire. Thank you, Sam, for joining me today. Lovely to have you.
Thanks, Jess, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about something that's affecting all New Zealanders and nearly everybody around the world. You know, they talk about a scamdemic, and it is definitely out there and it is definitely affecting everyday New Zealanders, and it's something we should all talk about a bit more. So it's a great opportunity to be here today and talk about the role that the FMA plays in scams and why it is one of our disrupting scam activity is one of our regulatory priorities.
Absolutely. So could you kick off by just talking about what your team does in the scam space?
Certainly. Look, the FMA, we're the leader in the investment scam space, and my team is, I'm very blessed. I have a team of very passionate and engaged and motivated and smart people who work in the scam space. And our role is to help New Zealanders make good decisions and protect their assets, particularly money. Yeah. And so we work in the scam space. We identify harms and we identify things that are happening that we term investment scams. And what we do is we deliver on FMA's purpose by putting out warnings on those scams and also looking at what we can do to disrupt the scam. Often it's a bit challenging because the bad actors, the scammers, the criminals, they're not in New Zealand. So we take lots of efforts to actually disrupt it. So we interrupt the kill chain, and we actually hope to stop that scam getting to more people. Yeah,
it's really important work that you guys are doing. And to kick us off, could you define what an investment scam is and how it differs from other scams? Because there's so many types of scams. Like I've seen my mum buy something on Instagram and the product hasn't shown up. That's quite different from an investment scam. So could you just touch on what is an investment scam?
Yeah. Well, in reality, a scam is a scam is a scam. They're all there for one purpose, and that's to extract value from a victim. Yeah. Typically that value is money, as an asset, but it could be your data or something you hold dear, like, property or shares or access to a crypto wallet. But for investment scams, what we're looking at there is something where they're driving a platform, something that you invest in. It's more the product or the hook that they're pushing rather than what the scam is. Because as I said,
it's the same purpose, isn't it?
The intent of the scam is universal. So what you're looking for is something that is, implying that they're going to give you some return and putting forth some product that's probably backed by some sort of financial service or product. And that's how it relates to the FMA because, that's our gig. We're there to make sure we have transparent and fair markets and financial markets in New Zealand. So that's why we lead the investment scam space.
And could you touch on the different types of investment scams that Kiwis should be aware of? Because I've heard of Ponzi schemes. I don't really know what that means.
Yep.
MLM scams I've heard about and I sort of understand. But could you touch on all the different types that are going on at the moment?
How long have we got?
Summarise it.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll start with a Ponzi.
Yes.
So a Ponzi, and it is actually, you mentioned MLMs.
Yes.
Ponzis and MLMs have a little bit of a similar flavour to them, and they kind of almost act interchangeably. But essentially the modus or the what a Ponzi scheme is basically the people that invest after you, they use those monies to give the returns.
Okay.
So, that's why they encourage other investors. So the person at the top of the tree is getting their money out, but that money, there's no investment there. They're being funded by the people that come in at the bottom.
Okay.
So it's like a funnel, an upward funnel.
Yeah, good way to describe it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's what a Ponzi is. A pyramid scheme operates in a very similar manner, but it's more about the recruitment. And you'll hear things like uplines and downlines and things like that. But your return is based on who you recruit into the scam.
Right. Okay.
So it's quite insidious in the fact that often the people you recruit are the people you know. You're bringing in your friends and family. Yeah. And, it might sound like, it sounds a little bit harmless. We're all winning.
Yes.
But, if you've recruited your grandma and she's further down the chain and then the bubble pops, are you really that comfortable about grandma losing all her money? So, so those are two examples. Other things we see is, in the investment scam space is fake platforms.
Yeah.
So where they've actually made it look and feel like an investment platform. You can see the returns, the beautiful graphs. They may have built a front end. You've got an app for it.
Yeah.
And what they've basically gone, it's just data. Your money's not there because they've taken your money, shifted it across the globe, and it's elsewhere. So there's that. The other attacks we see are, New Zealand's got a reputation as being very low on the corruption index. We're very attractive to investors because, we've got, low crime, good reputation. We're an open, transparent market.
Yeah.
We're attractive to scammers. So the other thing they do is they come in and impersonate New Zealand companies to create that credibility. So we see a lot of that imposter activity. Often they're not attacking or they're not targeting New Zealanders, but they're targeting the image of New Zealand, the brand of New Zealand Inc. And as I said, that's one of the things that FMA have in our purpose is looking after the transparency of the markets. We protect the financial markets. So it's really important that we stamp that behaviour out. Other things that you'll see, and we've had a whole range of them, is with AI and deepfakes.
It's getting so good. Like you just can't tell.
You can't tell. But we've seen a range of people actually impersonated.
Yeah.
So it could go from, we've had New Zealand politicians, we've had New Zealand celebrities. They particularly like radio hosts and morning TV people.
Yeah.
We've had reporters. And we've just had a recent pivot into business leaders and financial commentators. And as you said, some of those people were coming out in the media saying they couldn't tell the difference between the real image and the AI-generated image. But, quite a sophisticated, layered scam, because not only you've got this this endorsement from a celebrity or, a personality, shall we say. But, when you read into it, it's layered with, a fake article that sounds, it's got some sensationalism there. It's got a hook. Yeah. New Zealand pensions are going to go or, we've seen some where the Prime Minister's claiming things. People are attracted by that. They believe it and they do one of the things that you should never do. They click on the link.
Yeah. And they trust these people.
They trust it. And that's the endorsement, thing. The scammers and scammers are criminals, let's face it, are working on that trust, the endorsement, the factors that they're hooking into the silo. They're getting you in your feels.
Yeah. It's getting really scary. Could we touch a little bit on crypto scams? Because that's very big at the moment.
Sure.
And I want to try to understand how that differs from all the other scams that you've just talked about.
Yeah. Again, same thing. It's about money.
Yeah.
And there's two things that we see. There's crypto and there's fake crypto.
Yes, right.
And normally when we're talking the scam space, it's fake crypto. The crypto doesn't exist. So like the investment scams, they've built a platform. They tell you that you're buying a Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that. You're not actually buying that. You're just buying the facade.
Right.
So it's fake crypto. You're not buying crypto at all. And what a lot of people are doing, and it's one of these things when you look at investing, and I know over your series you talked about it, a lot of people are buying into something they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And when you're investing, you need to understand what you're investing in. And, crypto, a lot of people are going on the wave of crypto.
Yes,
it sounds good. There's a lot of people maybe on some of the social platforms showing their lifestyle. Yeah. They might be up in Dubai. They might be driving a fast car. They might have the nice watch and the nice bag.
Yeah.
Because they've made it out of crypto. Yeah. But have they really? Have they made it out of the commission they've got for, advertising this platform or endorsing this platform? Yep. So you've got to be very careful. So that's normally what a crypto scam is. It's not actually crypto. Right, okay. It's actually, like in any of the fake platforms, it's a facade. Yes. The other thing that we see quite a bit in the crypto space, again, is signal trading, where people are telling people, trade this, move this money. Again, it is not real signals. And, you're often taking guidance from someone who might have just reached out to you in a WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Do you really know what that person's background is? Do you really know how legit these signals are?
Yeah.
Be very careful
with WhatsApp for sure.
Well, WhatsApp, any unsolicited contact, because you've got to ask yourself, you've got to step back and look at the psychological triggers that people employ, right? Why are they contacting me? Why are they telling me this? It's a little bit too good to be true.
Yeah, because I've also seen like recovery scams in the crypto space is quite big as well, right? And they operate a little bit differently of sort of targeting people's vulnerable side. Yeah.
Recovery scams are, for want of a better word, evil.
Yeah.
Right. So you've gone through the whole, journey of being scammed. You've had this terrible, horrendous experience, because with scams, when you're a victim of a scam, it's not just the financial loss. It has emotional, psychological, family, social. The impacts of it are immense. But what happens with a recovery scam is you just get smacked with the next one. So they've got your name. The scammers have just, either it's the same crew that are operating, and they just reach out to you because they know your details.
Yeah.
They know your experience, and they reach out and say, hey, I can help you recover your crypto, the funds that you're invested, the money you've got there. All they're after is more money.
It's more, yeah.
Yeah, and the sad truth in, when you have been scammed, the likelihood you are going to recover your money is fairly limited. Yeah. And it's a case of often you're throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
So if anyone after you've just been scammed reaches out to you, please be very careful. You're actually 7 times more likely to be scammed again once you've been scammed the first time.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're vulnerable.
Yeah. And I think you touched on this a little bit earlier of, you mentioned WhatsApp. What are the various different ways that scammers can reach out to you? Because it seems very broad at the moment. Yeah, someone can reach out to you in many different ways.
They can reach out to you in every single way. I mean, technology has been a great enabler. It's made the world smaller, but it's made people easier to reach.
Yeah.
So, scams themselves haven't changed. How they scam you, the scam, it's fairly similar. It was similar 50 years ago.
Yeah.
What's changed is how they can reach you and how quickly they can reach you. So, you used to be you get documents in the mail, and certainly you still can get mail. I can't remember the last time I got mail.
I never check my mailbox.
It still happens. But now you get email. You'll get this really attractive offer into your inbox, and it creates some triggers. It creates a response in you, and you might click on one of those links. Don't click on the links.
Yeah, don't.
But, please don't click on links. But that's, email. You might have somebody reach out to you in your DMs, an unsolicited contact saying, I want to be your friend, and they build a relationship with you. And that can be, whether it's through your social media, through a text message, through one of the many messaging apps that are out there. If somebody reaches out to you and wants to be your friend, ask yourself, are they really your friend? And, what are they doing there? You still have the people ringing you up on the phone. Back in my previous career, I always used to say to the people I used to deal with, I'm an ex-banker, sorry for the disclosure there, but I used to say, be careful where you pick your phone up to as well.
Yeah.
Scammers love the witching hour, that moment of the day where you're a little bit, your resistance are low. They'll ring you, they'll ring during dinner times.
Yeah.
Or when they know you're otherwise engaged. If you're a busy parent, they'll ring at 4:00 when you're doing the school run and you're trying to get your children to football practice or something. They're really smart. So there are many ways. There's also the way. So I've talked about unsolicited contact, right?
Yeah.
You can also, your activities can assist scammers to contact you.
Okay.
So like I talked about the fake celebrity and the links in there, you click the link, you might go and put your details in. you know, or you may have seen, we had a run of scams about a year ago on comparison websites. You're looking for something. You might be looking for comparative deposit rates, or you might be looking for comparative, investment opportunities, and you think you're putting something in that's not a big deal. So you go on and pop your name in, you put Jess and your email and maybe your phone number.
Yeah.
And then next minute you'll get an outreach from someone. And that someone is usually a scammer. They're very well equipped and they know all the levers to pull.
Yeah.
And, just from that behaviour of you going looking for something and maybe thinking, oh, yeah, I'll just put some details in and someone will give me a call.
Yeah.
You've opened the door. So it's also about being careful where and who you share your information with, because in the scammers world, data is gold.
Yeah. It's so easy to just go on any website and just put your details in.
Yeah.
There's a code or there's a free something, and I do it all the time. It's
exactly, and that's what I mean. Technology is a great enabler. We're all about, let's just go and do a bit of a search and check it out. We'll go and do some research in our checks, and we see something and we want to know more, and we do it in a sort of unconscious way now.
Yeah.
But what we'd hope you do is you be more conscious or more deliberate about where you're putting your details in. And those people where you're putting their details, is it legit?
Yeah.
What's their rationale for doing it? And, we saw that in this, that comparison website space where, as I say, it opened the doors. And, a lot of people, and, one of the things that people think of, they've got an impression of what a victim of a scam looks like. They think it's a person of a certain demographic and, certain age, certain capability with technology maybe.
Yeah.
I mentioned, when we're talking about pyramid schemes and Ponzi schemes, about you don't want your grandmother.
Yes.
You kind of have this vision of it, somebody in the older generation, not so comfortable with technology, and, those are the people that we think are the demographic for the scam. No, anybody.
Yeah. I was going to say, one of my questions was going to be, who's most likely to get scammed, and can they target certain demographic age range?
So there's all sorts of research, and as I say, we are all potential victims. We're all potential targets because we all have something of value.
Yes.
And scammers are so well equipped, they're so sophisticated, they're so agile, and they're so patient. They've got multiple things going on and looking at different demographics. So for example, a younger demographic like, digital natives, they have vulnerabilities and attractions to scammers because they think they're invincible because they know a little bit about technology.
Yeah.
So, they work at pace, they work fast. They don't potentially listen to some of the, awareness campaigns that the likes of the FMA put out because it's not of interest to them. So they're at risk because they think they're invincible. Yeah. Similarly, we have people, whether you're a professional, you're sophisticated, you know that you think you're in the know, you're still at risk of a scam. So we're all potential victims. And I think normally if you do a straw poll and say, have you been scammed? I think everybody would say yes. Because we're not invulnerable to this. Yeah.
That's a good point to note, that it's not just people that don't know how to use technology. It's
absolutely not.
Across the board.
In fact, with the technological adaptations by the scammers, not having technology or having access to technology, you're probably safer.
I was going to say, If you don't have social media, you're probably better off.
And that's the key thing with scams is the speed they work. And, with the way technology has shifted, we live in an online environment. Absolutely. Everything is online, so we're fast and we're furious and we're all doing now. What we need to do is slow down.
Yeah.
And, because we're working in that fast pace, that's where the scammers get us, because they know we're not often working in the rational brain. We're kind of working in the unconscious space. Yeah. I can admit, I almost got scammed. I got really excited. They pulled all the psychological triggers, thought I'd won something on a competition. I was like,
I've done that for sure.
You've won a Facebook campaign or Instagram campaign, and you go then and, I was so this close to putting all my details in, and I just went,
Wait.
Yeah. And I had another look at the site, and it was just like, that's close, but it's not exact.
Yeah.
And then I had to think about it, and I was like, actually, the draw was supposed to be the next day, not today.
Yeah.
And so, as I said, it was the slow down that saved me.
Yeah.
Because I let myself
That's a good point, actually. I've had a similar experience on Instagram. I thought I was winning a bunch of clothes from a New Zealand local brand, so I thought it was totally safe because it wasn't an overseas brand. And then I was so excited, and I was like, they DM'd me, and I was like, what? Cool, I get a ton of clothes, sounds great. And then I went on to their Instagram, and then I found the actual company's Instagram, and I was like, oh, yeah.
But it was that. I won something.
Yeah,
I'm amazed. You get the whole responses, and that's what they're feeling. You've got that excitement and enthusiasm. You've stopped thinking. You just go, wow, I've won something. Yeah. I want to claim it. I want it now. I want to do something. I want to post about it,
Absolutely.
And that's what they're preying on. It's the psychological response that you've had there, and that's a great example of it.
Yeah. And because we've talked a little bit about some of the red flags, could you chat through some of the really big common red flags, that words or triggers that people should look out for? Because I was thinking about this the other day, that when I was growing up, it was a little bit more obvious, an email address would be wrong, or there'd be lots of spelling mistakes in an email. So sometimes it felt easier to go, oh, that's a scam. But it's not like that these days. There's not many spelling mistakes. Usually the web address or even the email it's coming from looks legit. Yeah. So what are these red flags? How can we
it is. It's crazy. There's so much cloaking, and as I say, AI is such a game changer because language models, people, they write really well, they engage really well, and it's actually not true. So it's harder to spot. Yeah. So some of the red flags you should look for is, that urgency. Anyone that's telling you, do it right now, you're the last one. All those sort of urgent signals, that should be a signal to you to actually, no, I need to take my time. Do never be rushed into somebody else's time frame. Yeah. So that's one major red flag. When people aren't asking allowing you to ask questions.
Yes.
That can be a red flag. Or almost, if you take the flip side, they've answered all your questions, so they've. I call it over credentializing. Right. So I've just it's my saying, trademark me. But no, I look at it because a lot of the work we do. I mentioned how we do a lot of work in the people impersonating New Zealand, the New Zealand Inc. space, and what we see there is often these companies have got certificates for everything. So they over-credentialise, they overcook the egg. Yep. So, they've got all these different stamps. So, you'll read a profile, and I've seen a great one just recently for one of the scams we're looking at, where the man's got a very generic name. So that's normally a red flag for me. Okay. So, if someone comes to you and they've got a name like Michael Jordan, for example, first search you go and put in someone like Michael Jordan, you're going to get a lot about a basketballer. Yeah. You're not going to see anything about anybody else, right? So scammers know that. So they know that the information will be well down a search engine. Yeah. So, look for those really generic names, whether it's Michael Jordan, Peter Williams, John Smith, Jane Doe. Yeah. They love, really, basic names, but, also go for ones that relate to, famous people because it hides in the search engines. Right. People approaching you and you're not expecting it. Yeah. So to me, that just screams, why?
Yeah, why are they contacting me?
Yeah, why are they contacting? And the next question I have is, what's in it for them? Yeah. First question, what's in it for me, but what's in it for them? Because why are they contacting me? What's the purpose of this interaction? Mm-hmm. So that's an important question. And the next question is, how are they getting paid for this? Right. Yeah. The other thing I think is, talking about people, not allowing you to ask questions, or when you ask questions, get very agitated on trying to shut you down. Yeah. And then when you're getting you're demonstrating discomfort or you want to hang up, they've got all these reasons, and maybe another deal comes in, a special offer, and
hook you, keep you,
hooked, keep you engaged, keep you on the line, keep you on the hook. So that's another red flag. They're just approached by someone who you weren't expecting. That's too good to be true. Really huge on investment scams, right?
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, investments do not just go up and up and up.
Yeah.
Investments are a bit like a roller coaster. They're up and down. So if someone's telling you that, this is guaranteed and there's no risk or there's little risk, that's a huge red flag. The other thing that they're coming to you at, and, have these people actually understood what your goal is, and what your risk profile is? Because often, as I said, they're an unsolicited approach. They've approached you and they've just created this momentum, this enthusiasm for it, but they actually haven't understood what you need.
Right, exactly.
And what your goals are and where you want to go to. Any investment decision you make should have elements of that. You should understand what your goal is, whether it's 3, 5, 10, 25, and how much risk you're prepared to tolerate, and to reach those goals. And if you actually haven't sat down and done that, you should be thinking about whether this is the right investment for you.
Yeah.
Similarly, I know one of your questions was about crypto. Do you actually understand what you're investing in? Do you understand the risks? Is this the right product? Is this the right service for you? You've got to keep asking those questions, and understand whether this is the right way to go about it. Because if you actually start slowing down and asking those questions and reflecting, you might think, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Because that's often what, when we're talking to people who've been victims of scams, because of the manipulation and the psychology, they were like, I didn't actually want to go into this.
Yeah.
I didn't they approached me and I've just been talked into something.
Absolutely.
So, be very careful about, those people that just approach you blindly.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how they can approach you in so many different ways, and the thing that I always concerns me, and I find, the thing that keeps me awake at night sometimes when I'm thinking about scammers and, the organised crime that's it, is how patient they are.
Yeah.
And that's what we see in investment scams. It might be one of the key differences to some of the other kind of scams is investment scams, they are extremely patient because the return is so huge usually.
Yeah. So they're willing to chat to you for a while.
Trust. And the actual getting you access to your funds might be years and years in the making.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they've built a relationship, and that's really challenging because the victim, has a relationship. So not only have they lost money or lost an asset, they've lost a relationship that they've invested very heavily in.
Yep.
So it's actually, a very hard place to be as a victim. Another red flag that there's so many red flags, but, is what you find is the constant asking for more money.
Yes.
Or greater investment. Put another $1,000 in and you unlock the next level that's going to take you there.
Yeah.
So there's that flag, that continual push for more.
Yeah.
And then when you don't put more in, then more aggressive sales tactics come in. Or even you get into really nasty space where they're actually grooming you into, why don't you go and get a loan? Why don't you ask your family for this? How can you access that money?
Yeah.
So, it goes, they go into different tactics, and with the relationship some of these scammers have built, people feel they can't say no.
Yeah.
So often they do. They go and borrow money, and they go and borrow from friends, or they'll sell an asset, or, they'll put the house on the market to put more funds in. And that's quite challenging. The other red flag is if someone's telling you not to trust an institution, whether it's a bank or a payment provider saying, they're only in it for profit. They're only in it for, they're interested in their product or something like that. Interesting, that's exactly what the scammer's interested in, but, they've got a really clever script to make you think that well. So they're creating that distrust. So you're not putting people or organisations on notice that can help you.
Yeah. And what kind of steps can people take if they have fallen victim to a scam? What is the first kind of things that they should do?
Yeah. First thing is, I think, is stop.
Yes.
Stop all interaction. Just halt it. I know a lot of people, they think they're helping by, dragging it out or keeping in touch. But firstly, stop. If you've paid any money or crypto or any means, contact that payment provider as soon as possible. As soon as you're on notice that something's not right, contact who you put the means of payment through.
Okay.
And hopefully they can stop further money going through, and hopefully they might be able to recover something. But they can't help you if they don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, as we said, check what you've done. Check your thing. I think by checking it, you reflect on what you've done.
Yeah.
So, if you've provided your ID, you might want to think about changing things. If you've provided, say, your credit card or your bank details, check it out. If you've given, if they've got to the stage where they've got access to your device or remote, you're going to have to either get them cleaned by an IT specialist, back to factory settings, so make sure. And the last thing is report it. Yeah. As I say, report it to, if it's an investment scam, please tell the Financial Markets Authority. We can do some work on it. Scams are often quite loud. So if you've got it's come to you by a text message, report it to 7726. If you're uncomfortable with the relationship or there's some aspects there, NetSafe is great at helping them. There's many places, but reporting is really vital because it helps us work on the scam that's helping, and helps, your situation, but other people as well.
Yeah.
So stop, check and report. 3 things.
Often I feel like people don't do that step of reporting it, and I do wonder why do people not report stuff?
Oh, there's so many reasons. A lot of it is the way being scammed makes you feel.
Yes.
You have so much fear. You've got doubt in yourself. You're blaming yourself. You're in a really poor place.
Yeah.
So there's that going on, as well as the implications of what you've lost.
Right.
So, the financial loss and the loss of your identity and who you are. The second thing is people wonder what happens when I report it because it's that, it's not going to make a difference for me.
Yeah, it's already impacted me, so yeah totally.
So, but it will make a difference. And if nothing else, it will make a difference to another person. So your experience, sharing that experience will make a difference so somebody else won't have the same experience. And I know with the reports we receive, that is what a lot of people say to us. They say, look, I know that it's not going to change what has happened to me, but I do not want another person to experience what I've gone through. And it's really vital. And, the thing with scams is, like last year, I think the figure in New Zealand was about 194 million for scams as a whole.
Yeah.
But that's just a reported figure. That's just one figure. The estimates are probably closer to $2 billion, if not more. So reporting is vital because reporting helps us do something about the scam. It helps other people because everyone that works in this scam space, we're all very passionate about eradicating scammers and eradicating the harm. And we all want to get to victim zero, which means nobody gets scammed. But we can't get there without people telling us. And I know how uncomfortable it makes victims feel, and that they're at a sense of desperation, and they're also at this stage where I don't know what to do. But reporting makes such a difference, and if you can't change the past, but you can certainly help the future, and that's what reporting does.
Yeah, that's great. And how can someone support like a whānau member, family, friend, someone who they can see is in a situation, may possibly deep into a scam? How can they support that person? Because I imagine that's quite different to being scammed yourself.
Yeah.
Especially if someone either doesn't know they're being scammed or, is quite far into the scam.
Yeah.
What kind of support can you provide?
It's so hard, you know. So all you can provide is love and empathy.
Yeah.
You can help the person on their journey, hopefully, to realising they've been scammed. You have to be patient. You have to be empathetic, and you have to try not to have judgment, because the victim will judge themselves enough when they get to the same realisation. Unfortunately, these are very destructive situations, and it breaks up families, it breaks up relationships, friendships, social groups, lots of things. So if you are dealing with a friend or a whānau member who is a victim of a scam, be patient, be caring and help them on the journey, and try not to be judgmental. There's wonderful support surfaces out there, and helping them access those, by reporting you can access those services, and availing yourself to that report. But hats off to anyone who is supporting somebody in this circumstance, because it's really challenging. And you also have to exhibit a bit of self-care on yourself, because it is really hard when you can see something, but your loved one can't see something. It's really hard to be in that position, and it's very frustrating.
Sure.
And a lot of people, there's a lot of anger and recrimination and blame that goes on. You need to just try and put those feelings aside and help the situation and help them move forward. But it's at their pace, not at your pace, because they're going to come to that realisation at a different point than you. And it might
take them a little bit longer.
It will take them a different longer, and they might see things differently to you. And as I say, when someone's had a 2 or 3 year relationship with someone, that's someone that they feel very deeply for, deeply about. It might be a case that they've never actually met this person in person, but they've got a connection there, and they've got trust. They've got what they feel are time and, integrity and relationships built into that. It's very hard to unravel that. So that's why you've got to be a bit patient with your loved one, and just hopefully support them out of it, and then support them beyond that. Because the realisation of being scammed is one part of it. But then it's the future, because often when you're in an investment scam, you're usually talking a large amount of money. Big money.
Exactly. And that impacts your whole life. It
impacts it. It destroys people's future. It might destroy the retirement they thought they were going to have, the next big trip that they've been working towards, how they were going to help their kids into uni or into their first home. It destroys dreams. And that's really hard, because when people have gone into investment scams, they're trying to often build the future for other people, their family and themselves, build wealth. They've gone in with good intentions, and they think they're making a difference, and then they've just seen that crumble. So it's a long journey out of that, and, there's huge factors, and, people just need to support and be patient and help them exhibit self-care. And, there's a lot of blame and things. Just try not to have that.
I don't want people to think I'm not going to ever start investing, because it sounds too scary. Where can they go on our website? Because we have some great information on our website. We have our list of warnings. Where on the FMA website can they go to get a little bit more education about investing and where they can invest safely?
Absolutely. So our website is great resource. So that tells you all about the different types of investment, and also how to spot scams. When you're choosing a provider, ask yourself the hard questions, because often people are telling you about the upside. You're going to get this return, and we're going to do this for you, and it's all, it's all going to be tickety-boo. But think about when things go wrong. What's going to happen when things get hard? So when, Jess and I, we get into a dispute, where do I go to? If I'm dealing with an offshore entity, how easy is it for me to engage with them? If we don't agree, where do I go? having access to someone independent to complain to, like a disputes resolutions scheme, really important. So yes, when we go into it, we're all glass half full and we're thinking of the upside. We're thinking, I'm going to put my money in, I'm going to get X, Y, Z return. But sometimes things don't go that well and there'd be, access to money or, it's not performing as I want. I'm having an issue with service or withdrawal rates. You need to have somewhere to actually complain. Do they have a complaints process? Is it stated? How do I get my money out? Having those sorts of things at the front of the mind. And, when you're talking about entities like that, they should upfront this all.
Yeah.
They should provide you this information.
Should be easy to find on the
Should be easy to find, and a reputable organisation will have probably a disclosure statement. They will give you the information, They probably are not reaching out to you like on WhatsApp or messaging apps. They'll be a bit more professional, or they're unlikely to have a Gmail address either, So you're looking for that professionalism and you're looking for those extra levels checks that you can actually validate yourself independently of what they are telling you.
Yeah.
Because that's the key thing. Scammers are essentially con artists. They're telling you what sounds good and what you want to hear, but, to make it harder for them, do your own independent checks.
Yeah, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for your time today, Sam. I really appreciate it, and I hope people have learnt a little bit more about those red flags and the importance of kind of doing that background information before you rush into anything. I think that's really important. Could you just finish with your top tip if someone's listened to this whole episode? There's a lot of information in this episode. What is your one takeaway?
Key takeaway is slow down, do it at your pace, and stop, check and report.
Yeah, love that. Great note to finish on. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like more information on scams or how to invest safely, head to our website. The FMA is here to help. We have a full list of our warnings and alerts. Just head to www.fma.govt.nz/scams and we'll see you next time. The content of this podcast is of a general nature and is not financial advice. The thoughts and opinions of guest speakers are not those of the FMA. The FMA recommends that our audience seek advice in respect to investing from a regulated financial advisor. The FMA does not accept any responsibility for loss that any person may suffer from following it.